I'll just go in live.
Hello, everybody. I hope that you have had an outstanding day. And for those of you that are watching from other places around the world, if you're just waking up, I hope that it's going to be an outstanding day for you. And you've got Lindsay on tonight with me because she's not been on a Tuesday for a little while. So it's going to get better from this moment on anyway because Lindsay's in the chat. So I'm looking at comments at the moment. Do come on and do say hello to us. Yolanda, hello to you, and I must thank you, Yolanda, for some nice comments you left on one of the previous streams. I've been meaning to comment back for a while, so I will do it. So big thank you, means a lot. Hello to Claire and to Anne. Hope that you're having a wonderful evening so far. So I'm looking forward to this. Stephen should be on here. However, he's just having a little bit of login.
He's having a little bit of trouble.
Yes, just a little bit, but with Lindsay's patience and and perseverance, we'll get him online. I'm sure.
Hopefully, he'll be on his phone
fine.
in a minute.
We're attracting it. We're using law of attraction to get Steve on live with us as well. So how has everybody been? Hello to Michelle, Lisa, Bex. I do hope you are having a wonderful day so far. Chloe is here as well. And my dear friend Nanny Lynn Sindri, how are you?
Hey.
So, yeah, I mean, anything you want to add, or are you in the process now of going through?
He's tried his laptop. The laptop's not giving him any look at the minute. It's blocking his camera. So he's going back to try the phone. So good evening, everybody. Steve will be joining us anytime now. It'll be like a magician coming through. So I hope everybody's well. Like Paul says, I hope you've all had a good day. Really looking forward to this chat. So best work out, Paul. Otherwise, me and you are going to be looking what spiritual, how to do spiritual.
We can wing it. I like winging it. Just look confident, and nobody will know. Nobody will know.
Nobody knows. We'll just chin. I'm okay, Nanny Lynn. Thank you. Everything could be better, but Yo-Yo's here. She's over in the chair. She can't see her because it's too dark.
Hi, Yo-Yo.
John's on the sofa behind.
Hello, John.
So they're just like chilling now. Well,
you know, I actually slightly raised my voice then when I said hello to them, so like I'm actually getting across to the other side of the room.
Hello. I'm not going to shout.
Well, that actually happened. Now, my grandma phoned me up when I was in Camberley, and she was quite deaf, and the signal wasn't that great. And I kept sort of speaking to her, and she said, "I can't hear you. You're going to have to speak up." And I just kept raising my voice a little bit more. And in the end, I said, "Hello, Grandma. Can you hear me?" The whole street just suddenly stopped, turned around and looked at me and said, "That's brilliant. I can hear you nice and lovely now. I'm shouting at the top of my voice here."
Oh, dear me. Oh, that's class. I mean, were it Dom somebody who used
to what was that comedy program on Channel 4 now? Yes.
Got that big phone.
Yeah, it was literally that moment.
Yes, Don Jolly, I think it was. Yeah, he was class.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a little bit of information about Steve. I'm having hot flushes here. So a little bit of information about Steve. I met Steve at a spiritual church that we go to. And we got talking, and I didn't realise only when we went round group and he introduced himself and he said that he does NLP. I think he also does sort of like life coaching, or it's his wife that does life coaching at the same time, but his focus is NLP. And we were talking, and he says, "Oh, I do spirituality with NLP," and I'm like, "Ooh, that sounds a bit interesting. Need to get him on a chit chat with Paul." So where's Yo-Yo? She's over. Where's Yo-Yo? We're a fan. I know. She's come and stand at the side of me and fan me, don't she? in Lana. So I don't even know. This is why we need Steve on, because I don't know how long he's been doing it and what got him into it. But hopefully he will have it sorted, and he will be joining us. If not, we'll be pulling guests in from the chat. Oh, she's here! Look, my fan lady.
Hello. Hi, Yolanda.
Hey, don't leave.
I must say hi to both Sam and Lana as well, because I did kind of say hi, Lana, and that, but I don't know because I said it quite quietly. I don't know if they heard me. So hello to you. And nobody heard my phone go off then, just discreetly.
No, we didn't hear your phone.
Good.
I have put mine on silent though.
I usually do, but occasionally I just end up forgetting it. And yeah, the time I always remember is when I've got a client in front of me, because that would be awfully embarrassing if there was a loud
it's
ding.
Awful when you've got your phone on. Lana, we might be pulling you in here to talk about something that you mentioned earlier.
I'm sure Steve will be on. I have every faith that he will be on.
I'm hoping that he's not having trouble. I mean, it's awful, especially when you've not used StreamYards before and you get these links and it's like, whoa, what am I supposed to do? Giving it one last go on laptop. We use Zoom usually, but typing again now. Oh,
if Steve is watching this now at the moment, sometimes I find by restart, he's probably done this already.
Yeah.
That's mind reading. But I find when I've got problems to restart the computer, that helps. Because mine can do that sometimes.
Maybe I don't know. I think it's the camera access. I mean, I think you can come on, but there's no camera, is there?
Yeah, I mean, we could have his voice. I mean,
I think you can come on as long as mic's working. As the mic is working, we won't be able to see you.
If he goes to settings, there's the different settings, because it might be that the settings for like an external camera or an internal camera. That's what I have to do to play about with it, is change the settings of the camera. So that could be something, because it has happened to me before. And what's going on here? Then I find out if you go to settings that you just need to select the right camera and it pops up.
You might need to change settings. Hey dear.
And Shirley has her feet up with a brew to settle down and listen. So that sounds wonderful. I have a brew sounds nice. I've got my water.
I've got water. I'm on water. Hey Shirley.
And hello to War Dog as well. And there's Carol from ETA.
Tell Steve to use different internet browser. Internet Explorer does that to me because of my security. Tell him to try Firefox.
That might work. I tend to find Chrome is always fine for me, but yeah, best to try them all, or again mobile phone and click the settings. That should come up.
What has Claire put? It could be your security.
I remember the very first time I had a StreamYard interview. It was through Tim from Ghosted UK. He sort of said, "Can I do a test beforehand?" And he booked me in like about a week or something. And
I should have done that, but I didn't think. You know me, Paul. I have these great ideas and I don't test them. Yes, Danny Lynn, it is normally you that is having techie problems. Techie problems, that's it, not techie problems. You know, it's just gonna be one of them nights, isn't it? We'll see. What time are we on now? We've only been going 9 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know, it's been fun so far.
Have you got anything coming up, Paul? Have you got anything coming up planned in, or anything? Anybody you're going to be working with?
Clients.
On here, but just in
clients. Yeah, clients I've got booked in. There is something potentially exciting happening in September, but I will let people know if it's definitely happening. Rather, I'm going to be talking at this event, and then it doesn't happen. Yeah. But you know, if it does happen, it will be very exciting for me. So I'll keep everybody. Hi, Kelly. I'll be keeping everybody posted with that. But somebody else actually thinking of getting on this channel at some point, because I've been to one of his websites. He's a Facebook friend, so hopefully I'll be able to contact him. Is the developer of spiritual? It's not spiritual. Is the energetic NLP. So
that'd be fantastic. That'd
be really
do you know, to the energetic side then. How would you do energetic side, Paul?
So it's to do with energy.
Oh, I see what you mean. Not as in running and jogging
fields.
NLP then. It's more working with energies. Weird. See, I thought when you said that, he's here. Steve's on.
Excellent. Hello, Steve.
Hello.
Hello there.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah, I think the camera's facing the other way. Let me just go send sync, which is important at the moment.
I can hear you.
We can hear you, okay?
Hey!
Hello, Steve. How are you?
Hello.
How you doing? You all right?
No, not bad, you?
Yes, I bet that were a stressful 10 minutes, weren't it?
That was a challenge. You always calls the tech expert in, don't you? On the tech
yeah.
It's a good. Listen
to it then.
Oh,
John's tech one for me. So good evening, Steve. Steve, this is Paul. Paul, this is.
Yeah. Can you just hi there? You right? Just to give me just 1 second. I know I don't usually do this, but just give me a couple of seconds and I'll be back. All right. Okay.
Oh, Steve, tonight. So while Paul's just taking that message on his phone, so everybody, please welcome Steve to chat. Everybody's saying hello. If any questions come up, Steve, I'll put them up on screen, and I'll try to answer them towards well, as we're going through, kind of thing. But what I'll do is I'll put them up on screen, so when you're ready, you can answer them. Okay. So, what got you started then with NLP in your journey, Steve?
What got me started? I think, well, it was almost like an inner desire to. Basically, I went through quite a suffered bad depression, anxiety. Get on top of me, drinking all night, suicidal. Found myself in woodland, drunk with a rope in my hand. Just got that low in life, really. Knew I needed to do something. That was a turning point for me when I was walking the streets at night, drenched. And it was only basically just the fact that years of just trauma here and there in my life, and then set up a business which was really successful but very stressful. And then I started using alcohol as an escapism in the evenings, dreading the next day coming, and ended up really trapped in this cycle of events, which was just drifting from one day to the next and just not happy with my life at all, even though I had everything I could wish for. So I managed to crawl out of that hole, never touched a drop of alcohol for 15 months, and very rarely touch it now, to be honest. I'll have the odd drink with my wife. I was just drinking, like a bottle of wine every night to just cope. So I started educating myself because I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more about why I'd ended up like that, why I'd ended up in this situation. A placid, calm guy that, used to be a successful athlete, ended up like that. So I went on a journey of discovery, qualified as a life coach, went on to do NLP and then my master NLP, and started to understand more about myself and how I tick, how everybody else ticks, and why we end up in these situations. And it changed my life, and I went on to help to change many other people's lives.
Others' lives, I mean, that's one good thing I will say with NLP, is and I even got it right when I've been telling everybody it's neuro-linguistic programming. Nearly got it wrong. But it's life-changing for a lot of people, isn't it? Do you want to, Paul? Do you want to join?
So I will jump in, and I also want to apologise to both yourself, Steve, and everybody watching, that I had to head up just right at the moment when you were talking about your journey into this wonderful field. What I am interested in, because when I do NLP, it's very much, as some people have put, eyes open hypnosis, but you said you close your eyes and go along with the client. If you can explain a little bit more the process of that, please.
When I was studying NLP, I could see, and many others could see, that I was a little bit different in my approach. Now, I've touched on spirituality for many, many years. I've always known there's something there. You may hear when, if I start to connect to spirit, my throat generally starts to, because it generally changes my throat. Because of a lifetime of many experiences, just things like, my neighbour next door told me that she'd gone one morning at 7:30, and I flung the curtains open and paramedics were sat outside. Many things like that throughout my life. So when we started doing NLP techniques on the course, I couldn't help allowing myself to just drop into a deeper level. And I absolutely believe that whilst doing NLP, your brain state can drop to a vibration which is closer to spirit. And I was starting to pick up, become sensitive to spirit whilst doing NLP. And I find myself that if we're going on this journey, like say timeline in NLP, that I go with the client.
Wow.
Almost slip into a bit of a trance, really, if you like, but the energy and the vibration of spirit, and we go with it, because I do believe that the clients that I help, and like myself, are suffering pain which is caused in the physical part of who we are, on the physical, materialistic, ego-driven world that we live in. And I believe that to try and heal from that same place is a very difficult thing to do. But if we heal from a higher spiritual self, that unconditional love, I believe that's where true healing comes, to heal the physical part of who we really who we are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you can't talk about Kate. Obviously, I know you can't talk about case, but is there an experience? Is this an experience that you've had with a client, without disclosing too much, how it helped that client after? Do you know, like, talk us through a little bit, Steve, on how that helped?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not everybody's into spirituality, so I do work with clients just coaching and NLP on a general level, but I have got my clients that are very open to a more spiritual based approach. One lady I can think of, she was very open to it. Loved the fact that we were going to do that, and I said, look, anything can come through. If it does, we're working on it's me, you, and third party.
Yeah.
So I got a gran come through, and I was telling her how close she was with a gran, and then I heard a gran say Tony to me. So I said, well, she just wants me to say about Tony. At this point, the lady was quite surprised, and she said, well, Tony's was actually my dad.
Yeah.
Her dad abused her when she was a child for about 3 years, and sexually abuse. And then after that, he committed suicide. His name was Tony. So I was well aware that Tony was being kept at a very distance, wasn't being allowed through. But just the fact that her gran was here and supporting her and bringing that love through made quite a big change. And then we went on to discuss other things, and other things came through. But sometimes that realization that you see, we're not trauma. We build up these this program within ourselves, don't we? That we are our past. We are the trauma we've gone through and all this. And in this world where we believe that we are actually, people think that they are what they own, what they clothes they wear, what car they drive. And I think to take someone to a level of understanding which is taken out of all that,
Yeah,
which is removed yourself from that really, and to understand that everything about us has beauty, every scar, every flaw, every single thing about us creates that beauty in a person, and we should embrace that and show it to the world.
yeah, definitely. So with that lady then, what did she get out of the NLP side from that spiritual session? What did she take away that was it more to do on a dad level, that she was able to come to terms? Well, how do you come to terms with it, but deal with those emotions on that level, or did it help her put boxes into her mind? How did it work?
I think it helped her to box things off from what had happened in the physical realm, in the physical past, and for her to understand that there is a part of us that is never born and never dies, and in that,
Ooh.
in that part of our existence, there is love there. There was always love there. She didn't understand that before. She didn't understand that there's a part of her that, because it's very important to get a person to feel the love from themselves.
100%.
It's like if I was to give you an orange and ask you to squeeze it, what would you get from it?
A sore eye because it's bitten me eye now. But yeah, I know what you mean. If you just get,
Yeah, it wouldn't be apple juice or grapefruit juice,
no,
or orange juice. So if you were to squeeze a person, you want love to come from that person, because you can't give away what you don't have yourself. And I find that many people are just so attached to their physical self. And when you break down those barriers and get them to realize that actually they're way more than that. We're not a physical being having a spiritual experience. It's the other way around. We're a spiritual being having a temporary human experience.
Mm.
And when you can get a person to embrace the true love of who they are, that was around many, many years before this Tony guy came on the scene, and get people to understand that growth has to come from trauma in any, and we'll look for growth from any trauma.
Yeah.
Because that's what you have to do. You can't live in the negative side of past.
No, you can't like you say, you can't let it. It's very difficult to not let something. You've got you define you. Your past doesn't define you. Do you know your or what's happening around you now doesn't define. Do you know it's you that defines you? Isn't it? It's a big step. Paul.
So I was just going to, because I know I do really like what Steve says and said then.
Yeah.
I'm also interested in knowing and curious to know, because my teacher, fortunately, was very open-minded, and with NLP it is the art and the science. So certain part of it, half of it is kind of what you're taught, and the other part of it is up to your own interpretation. How was your teacher in the way that you're going? Because I always think NLP is best for it to evolve and to grow and to move in different directions, so that its movement doesn't become stagnant. But what was the reaction from the people, and particularly the trainers on your course?
They thought I'd been doing it for years, which I have certainly have not. The actual teachers themselves, the lady that taught me, she's just been and spent a week with Richard Bandler actually, and she's qualified as an actual fully fledged trainer. But she, I went to meet her down in London. Stormy has been very different. The people who actually owned the business of the course that I was on, it's a massive company. Brilliant teachers, but I would say a little bit money driven, and I do believe they latched on to many of my posts that I was putting into the group, because all of a sudden they were running a course on holistic modalities, NLP, and well, I wonder where they got that from.
Yeah, ideas spring up.
Another money spinner for them, and I don't believe. I mean, my wife, she actually helps coaches and consultants to get clients, and my philosophy is that because there's many people out there that will coach from the wallet, but I think you really need to coach from your heart, and that's where the true love for what you do, the true change comes.
Did you notice a change in so when you went on your course then, Steve? Obviously, they weren't just you on course. There's going to be other people on the course with you. What were their reaction then to how you were going down the line of your NLP? Were they sort of like, "Whoa, it's a crazy guy," or were they, "Oh wow, that we're open to this," or were it a mixture?
No, they loved it. Yeah, wow. Everybody really, and I've met lots of friends and travelled country and met lots of people and just I think they liked the journey really. I have to be careful that I make sure I come back when we're finished.
Yeah. It's a place we don't want to come back from. Yes, I get that.
It's a nice feeling when you, gosh, the places I've been, I've walked on beaches in the sunshine, and the thing is, if I'm going back, say, to someone's past, to visit from the eyes of, say, an older person from today, I feel the energy of that person.
Yeah.
I feel the energy of their family, of their life, of their world, and I can see the pattern. I'll tell you a story I heard recently, actually, because if you imagine we're holding a canvas in our hands, and on that canvas is dobs of paint all over it, and each one of those has been placed by one of our ancestors, and we very much may be holding a canvas with very similar dobs of paint, because there will be inherent traits within us all which are picked up from great even like 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Will be a part of who we are, and now is the time for us to place that daub of paint on that canvas, and it's about creating that, because whatever we do on that canvas now will have the same effect for generations to come.
Yeah.
When we're gone, when our children are holding that same canvas. I have heard about someone actually, and I find it quite fascinating, and I have sort of dabbled in past life regression on myself, but this, I think it was a lady, NLP. I need to do some more research on this, but she or he went back 3 or 4 generations back to where the limiting belief or trauma started.
Yeah.
And she healed the person in spirit using NLP to collapse that vibration, to collapse that belief, to heal the living now. So it collapsed. It might have collapsed it in 4 or 5 generations to help the person that's alive now. So she took it back to the original source of where the problem started, because you can get people that that obviously pick up, I believe, even before we're born. We all pick things up from our parents, from our ancestors.
Yeah.
And it's a well-known fact, you know, that even inherent illnesses, like say a certain cancer, a breast cancer or whatever, there's evidence shown that even adopted children is a very high rate. They've ended up with the sort of inherent illness or cancer,
Yeah.
even though they're not blood related,
Wow.
because the belief created the so it's like the environment of the gene that it is placed in. So the environment comes from
Things.
in here, and the belief that, you know, my mum and dad, or my mum's got this, when there's actually no blood or genetic.
How interesting is that?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Wow.
That shows so if the mind can cause the illness like that, then the mind can also heal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that kind of also reminds me of the way you can pass things on at an energy level as well. With monkeys, I mean, we're talking about humans and cancer, but I know that there has been experiments done. And this was when I was on a seminar with Robert Dilts, where they had like a flake flower, and when the monkey went up to explore, it got sprayed with cold water. But even a monkey that hadn't been in there before, they would get to know that this flower wasn't good to go to, just literally because there was that sort of, they were all close together, these monkeys, and that sort of family was created with them, that they would, even though they weren't shown, get to know not to go to this flower. So I mean, I totally buy into that field, that we are all connected.
Yeah. So is that how you combined your spirituality with NLP, or is that a different pathway, Steve?
It's still an ongoing journey. As you know, I'm at spiritual church regular, developing my mediumship, and as we speak, actually, I've got clients in the US who are really on this road. So as I'm delivering a 12-week package course to them, I'm actually doing the coursework each week. It's developing ongoing as we speak.
Yeah.
Obviously learning things at church as well every week.
Yeah.
Before that, I did a advanced psychic practitioner course with Richard Knight before I started going to church. So I'm bringing more and more stuff into my coaching, into my NLP, and like you rightly say, there you develop it yourself. You add a lot too, don't you? And feel your way in, really.
And I often say, when is NLP not NLP? Because it's about modeling excellence and picking up things from other people, developing, testing, operating, testing, exit. That is, so it's a really great way to go about it. The people that come to you for the training, are most of them from an NLP background beforehand, or are they just like, they want to go straight to your work?
No, they are no NLP background. They're not coming to me to learn how to do it. They're coming to me to I've got in fact, most of my clients in the US, it seems to be past trauma that I'm working with. And I've got one client now, she's got me onto her staff as well. There are 3 others in America, and it seems to be very much stuff picked up from childhood, you know, abuse from parents, verbal abuse, physical abuse, and still clinging on to that, you know, in the 40s and 50s. So it's breaking down those barriers, and I don't know whether it's an American thing, but they seem to absolutely love the spiritual side.
I've kind of noticed that as well, actually. But it just might be the people that are drawn to me for some work, but really like that side when I do add a little bit of that in, definitely. So, I mean, it's more of an NLP question, but I'm just really interested to know because
Some of this is going straight over my head.
I'm sorry.
You two keep talking because it's fascinating and everybody's enjoying this. But if I just look like I'm just smiling and nodding, just letting everybody know I haven't a clue when it's going woohoo. So
well, that's okay. I mean, if it's not making sense, what
it's
I'm
making
asking,
sense. Everybody in chat is absolutely agreeing and they're loving this. It's just my brain's a bit thick. So
no, it's not thick at all.
It's not thick. It just processes differently. But yeah, I'm fascinated. I'm just listening in. So yeah.
So yeah, I was just wondering, when you do connect in spiritually using NLP, I know that like clients do go through the representational system, some being more kinesthetic, the feelings, some people being more visual. Does your submodalities, sorry, does you? I'm using NLP jargon, so I'm going to stop doing that because people are not watching. But do the way you view things change with who you're working with?
I think that's a good question. And I think I'm going to say yes, because I pick up the vibration of that person. And within a very short period of time, I adjust myself to that person to fit in. Because I think what we all need to understand is that we are all connected. Yeah. We all sing to the same song, the universe. We all dance to the same music. We're all connected, and we should see ourselves in everyone else. The God energy flows through us all, and even if someone's the other side of the world on Zoom, to me, there's still that personal connection. And when you're healing one person, you're healing everyone on a collective universal consciousness.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, Lindsay, that I think you're asking the right questions, because I'm getting all excited because it's a new form of NLP. You know much I love NLP and hypnosis, but you're asking the questions that come from the heart, which I think is the most important ones.
Yeah. No, I know, but I mean, like I said, I mean, I know you might not be. I read chat as everybody's talking, and the feedback we're getting is just amazing. Everybody's just so fascinated in this topic of conversation, because I think you've both said it. You've both said it. How much NLP is life changing. So, how do you find NLP's changed your life?
It's massively changed my life because I have learned to understand myself more, and the more clients I work with, because when you're doing spiritual NLP, you're almost like embodying the client's energy.
Yeah.
And it does really feel like when you see those smiles on the person and that healing progress, that you're building yourself as well. You like I say, it's a very loving way of connection when you are able to spiritually sit on the same vibration as another person, even though they're on the other side of the world, and feel what they're feeling. As you know, with NLP, you know how to look at a person and pick up just by facial expressions their change in mood, but when you can feel it from a higher sixth sense as well, it's a really, really amazing, addictive feeling. Really, I love helping people. There's no two ways about that. I absolutely love helping people, and I will never chase clients.
No.
It's important that they come to me because that's part of the journey.
Yeah. Do you find sometimes, you know, when you're working with, obviously, because you're working on that spiritual energy level, obviously, I know you get there's every time you go and work with somebody and you're working on that level, I know you'll absorb some of their energy. But when I know we always give energy back, but is this sometimes when you've like actually thought, you know, I'm gonna use, like you've picked up on somebody's energy and thought, oh, I'm gonna bring that into myself to help me with something I'm going through. Do you know, sort of like, so you helping yourself while you're helping others, if that makes sense. If I'm making sense, if not, Paul will explain it in proper jargon terms.
Oh, absolutely. I don't. It's a very good question. Do I use someone else's energy? I think you naturally do it anyway.
Yeah.
Without even thinking, because when you can feel the love of somebody else, and when you feel that love growing. I mean, I'm working with guys. I'm working with a guy at the moment. Just sprang to mind. Again in the US. 58, suffering. He didn't admit it at first, but I think it's starting to come to light now. I always knew it, but
yeah,
he was emotionally traumatized as a child, beaten by his dad. But he's like, oh, his dad was great when he was older because he paid for lots of things and gave him a deposit for a house and all that. But that's just physical. That's just money, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the physical. Damage, that's not the
Yeah, the damage was still there, and he has come to see that as we've progressed forwards. But every element of his life, from he used to drink heavy, he doesn't now. He's overweight. He's now controlled his diet. His relationship with his wife, they were going to counselling, that's improving. His business life, he weren't making so many sales in real estate, that's improving. So many elements, many areas of his life all come down to that same one point, which is causing all this damage and this destruction. And well, obviously, to see a person's eyes start to open and that realization and that smile, and to hear what he's doing with his wife, and it is, like, to me, just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I can imagine that, actually, because to have that sort of like impact and to be on that journey with them. I mean, obviously, Paul, you're on this journey with your clients as well, even though it may be not on maybe on a spiritual level, but on a different kind of level. Do you know what I mean? But you're both on that journey with them. And I think for both of you, what you do is absolutely fantastic, because you do change people's life for the better. You do help people. And some of these, like you said, some people have had the trauma in the past and it's affected them life now. Some people have actually had the trauma now and it's affecting them moving on in the present, like how some people, like, we've carried it from a child onwards. Some things happen to us as an adult and we can't let them go either, and I think it's just so amazing, just the work that just goes out from both of you, because I mean, I've known Steve from church and I know Paul, and the heart is just it's just phenomenal for both of you. I mean, I've not known Steve long, and Paul knows I love him to pieces, and Steve, I love you too. Do you know what I mean? But your heart's just it just oozes from you. When you're both talking, you can feel the passion, and you can feel that it's the people that matter. And that's what comes off from both of you, and it oozes from you, is the fact that it's the people that matter, and I just think it's fun. I just think it's fantastic. Have you ever found anybody you haven't been able to work with, though, Steve?
No.
That answers your question, Patricia.
I was just going to say, somebody actually asked that. Have I ever had somebody that I've not been able to work with? Yes, it will happen. It happens to me very, very occasionally, but I can count on one hand.
Yeah.
the amount of time, well, probably like 3 fingers or something like that, but you just get a feeling. But I don't ever just leave somebody by
No.
themselves. But I
Yeah.
find other ways to, So I think Patricia asked it, but somebody asked another question
Yeah.
which had us both in it. So I was
Yeah.
just asking that one as well.
So, you know, like when you find it, when you, like you said, sometimes when you, it's like you said, Paul, when they come to you, you might not be able to work with them in that sense, but you will find another alternative for them. And maybe it's working with them in a different way first, or
Yes.
getting them to, I don't know, maybe consult the GP or whatever that person needs to get that kind of professional help if needed. But then you're there when it's, yeah. Can you feel someone's past suffering? Say if you're sitting in a restaurant at a table, say a stranger that you just catch or feel their energy? I'll ask both of you that one.
Yes.
Yeah, you can feel that, Steve. Paul, have you ever felt that with energy when you sat there? Because obviously you work's different, but you're still working like Steve said, it's body language as well that you're looking for and stuff.
Yeah. I tend to switch off. I think because I'm looking more for physical than tapping in as Steve does. So I tend to switch myself off because with the people, and I want to give their focused attention to the people that I'm with at this time. But you do sometimes see couples together, and it comes from Joe Navarro, who was an FBI agent, which I really like. And sometimes you may think, oh, this ain't wrong with a relationship, but they might not be talking to each other. And in this day of mobile phones and scrolling through their mobile phones, you think something might not be right there. But it's to look at the feet. And sometimes you can see these couples rubbing their feet together. So even though they're apart, they don't seem like they're interacting. If their feet touch, that's a very good sign. It's actually when a relationship's going wrong, it's one of the parts of the body that starts to distance itself away from the other couple before anything else happens. So that's one of the things to look out for.
I'll be going around restaurants now looking at everybody's feet.
I could say quite a lot about the feet, but that's probably for another talk, another live some other time.
It's important to understand that all our past, all our thoughts, all our emotions, all our past trauma, all our beliefs, limiting or negative, or positive beliefs, everything about us sits in our aura.
Yeah.
And our aura obviously extends beyond us, way beyond us. So this is why you can sit in a restaurant and instantly maybe not like somebody's vibration. This is where in business you can have someone who is say trying to make sales, but they're not congruent in their self, in their beliefs, that they can actually do it. So when they're talking to, say, a client, before they even open their mouth, we naturally pick up from other people's auras. That's a natural inbuilt thing for us. That's part of our inherent protection of life.
Yeah.
So people will pick up from aura before anybody even speaks, because all our life is in there.
Yeah. Claire's put, her trauma started 10 years ago. She's currently having therapy, which is helping. My spiritual journey is also helping greatly. And Claire's going to be joining us on the new one at church in May. Would NLP also be beneficial? And that's to both of you.
Well, for me, NLP is always beneficial. But like the late, great Louise Hay used to say, it's also as well what resonates with you. And she could say would do a talk when she was giving her presentations, and people go, what's she talking about? And then somebody else would say the same thing in a different way, and everything unfolds. It's like, I've never heard this before. This is absolutely wonderful. But I think, listen to what both myself and Steve are saying. Do a little bit of looking up of some NLP videos. There is negative things about NLP, but that's kind of what other people think about it. And I think if people want to find, basically, if you've got a belief about something, you will find that belief in what you're looking for. But I would say to Claire to check in, because we have a head brain, so check in with what your head says about if NLP is good for you. Check in with your heart if your heart is good, because we do have like brain type cells in the heart and the gut area, so head, heart and gut. And if it feels like a yes for you, if you don't get any mismatch between any of the head, heart and the gut, then yes, it might not be, it might be something for you, Claire.
See, I have to ignore my head and my heart, and I just have to listen to my gut, because my head and heart just pull me different directions. And I always say, if my gut says go, go.
Yeah.
So yes, so
so what Steve would say about that?
Yeah,
again, it's down to I mean, I suppose I was wrong to say I didn't have clients that have not worked with me, because I've had clients that I've spoke to for an hour and then they've not run with me. So maybe that.
Yeah.
So it's important that if you're going to work in the area of NLP, that you find someone that you really resonate with.
Yeah.
I know people that deliver NLP, and I know they're in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
But NLP itself, if you were to take away those three letters and just see it as, this is how we tick, this is how we evolve. We can't evolve any. We can only evolve by what we know, can't we? From our existence. So anything that's input into our brain is just, we can't know anything that if it's not in there, can we? So even if someone's, say, drinking heavy, the subconscious has a positive intention for them drinking heavy, because it knows that they're waking up every day and they're breathing. It's not bothered whether they're rich or happy. It just wants them to keep breathing. So when you start to see yourself as, if you look at yourself as a computer, really a program, and whatever's input into there, and all NLP really is just simply changing those beliefs in subconscious to see a different perspective. I mean, I'll tell you a little story about my wife. She was going away on holiday, and she told me that all the inside of her lip was all skin coming off. She said because she bites it when she gets stressed. So I did just the switch technique while I was driving along. So I implemented an image into her subconscious mind of a lip all swollen and sore and infected. And about 3 weeks after, she said, "Oh, inside of my lips all smooth." And I said, "That's because your subconscious now has an image which it didn't have before, of your lips swollen and infected. So it's thinking twice before it does it. So it's just putting in a little bit more information that's not been put in before."
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, see that little. I get. Do you know that switch there? And that just switched on for me when you said that. Yeah, that's so interesting. Something so. But you know, we wouldn't think it. This is why though. This is why people need people like you two, is because we can't do that ourselves. I don't think sometimes, you know, we're programmed, like I said, we program ourselves in it. Well, society programs us, but the program's there. And like you said, sometimes it takes somebody from the outside to look in. And like you said, just as you were driving, I know your experience and everything else, but just to say, and that image is put there, just a little word, and it's somewhere, it's in back of her head. It's like, again, you know, I mean, that's just honest to stop her biting a lip. You know, that could have just, it's just amazing how the brain works, really. You know, why aren't we storing this up front? Why is it all in hidden parts? Why can't we pull it all up to front, you know?
Just the self-talk, really. Just the self-talk. People can get trapped in their story of life. And I mean, I've got quite a large group with where I help people to quit alcohol or control it, and I will not talk about recovery.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's instantly telling yourself that something's not right.
Yeah.
So we go beyond these words, alcoholic and recovery, and because the self-talk is damaging itself, and
Yeah,
we get trapped in that story of our life, and that story then becomes our comfort blanket, and then we walk around with it like carrying bags of manure,
yeah,
and occasionally we dig our hands in it and smear it all over our face and tell other people, just how bad it smells, and it becomes us, and it becomes part of our life, and
yeah,
people become trapped and victim in their own self.
yeah, definitely. So, what's your take then? So, this will be a question for both of you. So, what's your take on spirituality? So, Steve, do you want to go first on this one?
My take on spirituality is I absolutely have no doubt in that we are there is a part of us, a higher spiritual part of us that, like I say, was never born and will never die. I connect to spirit, I hear spirit, I see images put in front of my face, I feel energies. So to me, that is the absolute true divine source of who we are, who we truly are, where we came from. This journey is just temporary. And we've all got like an inherent mechanism which tells us if we're moving away from our true source or not. And that's just the way we feel. If we're doing something in life that's making us feel unhappy, we're moving away from our true source. If we do something that makes us happy, we're bringing ourselves back onto the right road. And when we feel happy, we feel inspired in spirit. So we're back on track of who we are, and rather than, so when we divert and feel uncomfortable, we feel unhappy. So we have a feeling, it's just a feeling which knows whether we're, and that's into us from our higher spiritual self.
That's interesting, that bit. Yeah, I like that. Paul, what about you?
Well, I agree. And I'm glad Steve went first because he knows a lot more about the spiritual side of things. But I think what I'd like to add to that is when you're in that spirit is also being authentic, being yourself, not feeling like you said, Steve, with covering yourself up with manure. And we have, from Dilts' logical level, it's like this triangle thing. I recommend people just click on it and look it up, starting off at the environment, heading up at identity at the top, and then like the triangle, because Robert Dilts put this like graph, this sort of figure thing in like a triangle, and it goes up into spiritual. So it's like your bigger picture, your ideals, and what you truly want from a good cause to be as well. Like both Steve and myself generally want to help people. We don't do it to be rich and famous.
No, you do.
Being well known for it is nice, but it's to go beyond the self and see the bigger picture. Doesn't mean that the self, your identity. Maxwell Maltz in his teaching of psychocybernetics calls it self-image. So I think who you are is very good, and it is to be strong in your self-image and your identity. And it has been noted that people that have illnesses, those that have been able to recover better from it, have a better, stronger identity, who they feel they are, and it hasn't changed because they're that comfortable with who they are. The people that say, well, I've got this illness, I won't be able to do this, this and this now, have changed their self-image, and the recovery has not been able to happen so well. So I think it's to live authentically and to have the awareness that, I would say there's people that don't believe in an afterlife, but the way they are quite spiritual people as well. So it's to just really kind of, if you find yourself doing something that you don't like about yourself, instead of trying to sweep it underneath the carpet, is to think, as Steve says, and we're taught in NLP, every behavior has a positive intention, is to think, well, what was the positive intention from me acting in that way which wasn't good? and then readjusting it, thinking I'm going to change the behavior, and then see what you get from that. Have you made a difference? Are you feeling better? If not, change the behavior again, and then see how life goes. And with my NLP, it's not like, oh, I've got everything sorted. I think everybody, even the Dalai Lama, is on their journey, and it's accepting that journey and growing as you work on yourself, being authentic, walk the talk, and grow with the clients as well.
Definitely. I mean, to be honest, I mean, like you said, for me with spirituality, I mean, obviously, yeah, I'm a big believer in spirituality. I do think that we do all believe in different things, but that doesn't make any less for that individual. Do you know what I mean? We've got people that believe in God. We've got people that believe in gods and goddesses. We've got, you've got different level. Do you know what I mean? And for me, I think if you're on that spiritual journey, you know you're on it, because I think you can feel it. Your whole persona changes. I mean, for me on spiritual journey I've been, mine kick-started really back in when I went back to church and I met Steve and everybody else there. And it were like, it's such a turnaround on how I feel inside, that I know I'm on right. Like you said, you know you're on the right path, because I'm joyous about it, you know, and it's like I want to shout it from rooftops, but you can't, because not everybody wants to hear it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what? It's good, kind of thing. So yeah, it's for me, I'm all for. And again, I do believe in life after death. I do believe that, but like Steve says, I do like that. But we haven't lived and we haven't died. We're just a constant, you know. I think I like that. Charles has put, he had a near-death experience 45 years ago and hid it until last year. It's really hard to explain. And I think it's supposed to say NLP help Charles with coming to terms with the near-death experience that he had?
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I always promote NLP.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think so, because when you have an experience, you have your surface level. Virginia Satir, family therapist, first came up with this, and that you think like an iceberg on top of the sea, and what you see at the top is where you're at, what everybody sees as yourself, from their perspective. But underneath the sea is all the deep structure, all the sort of beliefs, values, what's happened to you. And NLP helps to get to that deep structure and helps you to elicit, to bring out the feelings, and to take the positive maybe from what happened, and maybe come to terms with it more once you get to
Does it
unravel
help the
that
iceberg rise then? So you know how you said people
it
see
helps
the
you to
top bit,
understand.
don't
Yeah,
they?
it helps you to understand yourself better,
Yeah.
and that helps you with communication with yourself and others, because we're always communicating with ourselves, whether we think we are or not. We become what we think about all day long. So if what is going on, it can be a little bit like the iceberg underneath is really wonderful. If you've got divers down and you saw it and it would look wonderful, or it can be like I've heard Michael Neal give the analogy before, is that sometimes you can be like an orange, because an orange was mentioned earlier, but if it's dropped on the floor and dropped on the floor and dropped on the floor, the outside will look perfect, but that inside is a mush. So it's getting into that structure, and I'd say polishing, maybe creating a nice sculpture underneath the sea.
Yeah. Wow. And Steve, for you, I mean, have you actually worked with anybody that's had, well, you've been on spiritual path. Have you ever worked with anybody or come across anybody that's had a near-death experience and that they've needed your help or guidance, should I say, to help them through it? Or is it something you've not come across, but you know somebody that has? Or what's your take?
Nothing springs to mind that I've worked with anybody. We've had conversations, and people have talked about near-death experiences that they've had, but it's not been the main subject of. We've definitely touched on it, but I don't recall actually working with somebody thought. But when you think about that, that's a great way of putting it with the iceberg. It's important to understand that that bit of iceberg that's sticking out the water is changing with environmental change throughout the lifetime of what it is. But the bit that's underneath is staying the same, but it's having an interaction with what's stuck up above the water. So if someone's had say a near-death experience at 45 years ago, I'm guessing you were quite young. So the tip of the iceberg that's poking out the water is still seeing that near-death experience from the eyes of, I don't know, a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old. It's not seeing it from the eyes of a person that's in the 50s or 60s. So what NLP does is to help a person to see that experience from the eyes, because the experience has not had a birthday and aged like the person has. So you can have a person that's 60 that was had a traumatic experience at 10, but they're still seeing it in their mind's eye from a 10 years old perspective, not from a 60-year-old. And when you see things from the perspective of a 60-year-old that's got more maturity, there's healing in that, because obviously I've met many people that have been abused at a young age, and obviously they're blaming themselves because that's what a child would do, and they're still blaming themselves at 50 and 60.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I've seen. Yeah. I know. For trauma for me, I was 8 when I lost my dad, and all my life I was looking at an 8-year-old through an 8-year-old's eyes, like exactly like you've just said. That really hit home, that, Steve, because I always looked at it through an 8-year-old eyes. And through teens was very difficult, because I was still, even though I was in 14, 15, 16, 21, 22, 23, I was still, that trauma to me was of an 8-year-old. And it was a very difficult, obviously it's going to be difficult. Do you know what I mean? To come to terms with. I was lucky enough. I mean, I sort of had NLP, but it was with a psychologist. I had to go and see not a psychologist. Is he a psychologist, a therapist? Really, a really straight-laced therapist that were like, right, we're taking no shit off you now. Do you know what I mean? And he worked with putting things in boxes. But you know, to be honest, you know, the first thing he said to me when I walked into the room, first he was going to section me because he thought I was crazy. And then because John were outside, he knew I was going to be safe. And then I went back in the following week, and obviously my demeanor had changed, and I was more upbeat because I'd finally got help. I'd finally got somebody to listen. That's all I needed, somebody to just listen to me, basically. And we were sat there, and he said, I know I can work with you, but can you work with me? And I looked at him and I thought, oh. And I looked and I went, yeah, I can work with you. He says, well, I'm going to say one thing to you before you say that you can work with me. He says, I'm going to say one thing to you. And then he says, and this is going to distinguish how I'm going to work with you through this point. And I went, okay. I'm going to swear, everybody, but I won't say the proper word. He said, grow the feck up. That was the first thing he said to me. Now, I've had therapists before, and they've always, oh, I'm so sorry, and this, do you know what I mean? But for him to say it on that level, but he helped me deal with things as an adult, whereas though my brain has always dealt with things as an 8-year-old, if that makes sense. Not everything, but obviously certain things in life. It's an 8-year-old brain, even though we're in my 40s, an 8-year-old's brain that we're dealing with situations that, and it was a massive change around. Luckily, I got to see a right person at the right time. But if that's the amazing thing of NLP, is that mindset, that change. that it like you said, it brings you back in. You stop looking at it from that age group, and you start looking at it through a different set of goggles. It's such a bit. There's more to it. It's honestly, it's absolutely fantastic. And if anybody is suffering or struggling or anything, please reach out. Paul's always available on Messenger. Steve, we'll put Steve's details up as well. And I'm sure Steve wouldn't mind any of you messaging Steve for advice or on what to do and everything else. It's just fun. Oh, do you know this subject? You could go on all night. It's a never-ending subject, this. So have you got any more questions for Steve, Paul?
Well, there's always questions that I could ask. Always questions. Because each person's different. But what one thing is it the way that you work with your clients? Would you say that is so key, that is the difference that makes the difference?
As you know, in NLP, silence is I'm very good at coming across as chilled and allowing people to. I'm trying to think what it was now. That was it Wayne Dyer that said it's the space between the bars which holds the prisoners, and it's the silence between the notes which makes the music. And it's the same with NLP and coaching. That it's the silence which creates the change, as you allow a person to search within themselves, really, because the answers are inside of us all. We just live our life with this, and it's like what you just said with the when that guy said that to you. If you think of our conscious mind as the gatekeeper of protecting subconscious, if you like, he wasn't expecting him to say that. So he sneaked underneath the gate of the conscious to an area where you can create change. The conscious brain was just sat waiting for the same old dilly-dally conversation, wasn't it?
It was. I was just expecting what you'd expect, no help, and walking back out feeling worse. So he did. It was like a shock, and I started laughing, but it was a shocked laugh. And the response back was like, I know I've got to. And now you just told me I've got to, and I've admitted I've got to. And it was like, woo, too much for the brain to take. But it was life-changing. It really was life-changing.
Awareness. We need to follow. We need to live. We're not our name. That's just a collective of letters to communicate with people. We're not our body. That's changed and over years. We're not in the same body that we're in when we were 12, 15 years old. What we really are is the conscious awareness behind everything. And you can have a person that's down in the dumps and negativity, but there's an awareness behind which knows. So if we learn to bring awareness to the forefront of our mind instead of living by the thoughts, because each thought will bring an emotion into the body. So if you get trapped on a negative thought, you get negative emotion, more negative emotions start to come. But if you can imagine sat on a seat on a throne in your mind, and thoughts are flowing by like clouds. And if a negative one comes in, let it go. There's plenty of tools we can have in our arsenal, like putting music on or dancing or singing. Just let it go and attach to a more positive thought. Because when you're living in awareness, you're then in control of those thoughts. And you stop them at the gate. You can change the way that the emotion comes into the body.
Sorry, Dan. Sorry, Dan. I must have missed your questions. He's been asking a lot of questions that have yet to be answered. And may I ask one? Yes, you may, Dan. I'm so sorry. I can't flick back through because I don't know how far questions was. But if you pop it in, I will look for it and we'll pop it up onto the screen and get it answered for you as soon as we can. So while we're waiting for this, then I tried to explain a little bit to Paul earlier on about your great grandfather. But obviously he's hearing it secondhand from me, Steve, and I just think it's such an interesting story, and on that spiritual level also. So yeah, if you'd like to tell us a little bit, because obviously this connects to you on a spiritual level also, I believe.
Yes, yeah, it does. I've known this story from a child. As my dad's told me, I've grown up seeing my great granddad's massive Bible on the side at when my parents are at their house, and I knew the story which happened to him in 1910 when he was in his 30s. That he suffered a really, really bad illness, lost lots of weight, and actually died, was pronounced dead. All his family were mourning and friends. The curtains had been drawn. The doctor had been round, and the vicar, and he'd been pronounced dead. He was skeletal, gone. But he heard Jesus talk to him, and to say he had to deliver a message to his brother. And he was to come back to life. He'd got a calling to do. And he did come back to life. He rose up. I know all the story. I've got all his memoirs about it. But a guy just recently reached out to me from America. He was a very, very, very distant relative. Found me on Facebook, and he said, "Have you read the book about your granddad?" And I said, "No." He said, "It's on Amazon." So I have got it now. It's there.
That's the book. That's the one.
It's called Facing the Stargate. And it's on Amazon, about my great grandfather. And apparently it's one of the most profound experiences with Jesus that anybody's had in the UK. And as I've been reading this book, he heard Jesus talk to him on, I think it was the 14th of February, which I know is Valentine's Day, but I thought that's actually my auntie's birthday, which is his granddaughter.
Yeah.
So I rang my dad to tell him. He said, "Well, if you keep reading the book further on, Jesus spoke to him again on the 5th of April, which is my dad's birthday." So his grandchildren's birthdays have played out on the days of the experiences he had. But he did raise again, and he did come back and walk downstairs, skeletal even though he was, and over a series of weeks, months, he was fully back to health. Nobody can understand how it happened. He opened a church in Chesterfield after that, and the first soup kitchens in Chesterfield, and spent the rest of his life traveling the Midlands of the country, delivering healing to people. And in that book there is many images of where he was, advertising that he's back again with his healing. That's a picture of him.
Oh wow.
And he lived
Fantastic.
He lived into his 80s, to a grand old age. And I do feel him. I feel his energy.
So do you think then, Steve, we say we're all born, I believe we're all born with a gift on I'm going to bring it back to NLP in a minute, but on spirituality, I feel we're all born with a gift. I think everybody's born with this because we're all that energy field, right? Some people, like we say, some people it stays with them. Some people lose it because of other beliefs and other interference coming in, and will never get it back. Some get it, have it, lose it, and then get it back as they get older because their life journey starts changing. Do you think with your granddad having the spiritual experience he had, do you think that makes the connection as though like it was passed down through the generation. No, you sometimes like some people say, "Oh, we've not had nobody spiritual in my background." Do you think that's connected you in, or do you just think it's just you know?
Yes, I do. I believe we all have it. It's natural within us. Even if we were to look and dissect the brain, there's the what's the gland now? The
Pineal
pine
gland.
pineal gland. Yeah. Within the channel that goes to the third eye, it's been found that there's crystal in there. Crystal is connection, and the pineal gland pumps out a drug which has been scientifically proven that is enhances spiritual connection. And on death, when we die, the pineal gland massively pumps out this drug at the instant death, which is the perfect time when it's required, wouldn't it? So yeah, I think it's a natural thing. Even our physical makeup is so if you think of it just the same as speaking and hearing and smell, it's a natural thing to all of us. But obviously in modern times, it's been lost.
Yeah, you forget about them senses, don't you? We've got the senses: the see, the hear, the smell, the taste. You know, and it's like, yeah,
You don't know they've got a gift because they can smell.
yeah,
yeah. If you think of it more of a natural part of us anyway, and when you learn to be sensitive to that higher spiritual self and loved ones. I mean, I've had honestly some tremendous connections with loved ones that have gone, conversations with friends that have passed, and so profound, and evidence that's come through. And it's just a case of being able to take the mind to that vibrational state, which is on the same or similar level to the spiritual realm.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So Joe's asked a question. Do you think things happen in life for a reason? Like, say, if someone has an operation when they are a baby and they have the scar for life, etc.
I'm going to say I don't really know, but I think that you can take what's happened to you in life and turn it into a positive.
Yeah. Steve?
I agree. I do think many things are meant to happen. If you think, I believe we have been here before, many lives, and on this journey we're here to learn a certain thing, and events can happen to nudge us in that direction. Yeah. I mean, I was a very, very shy guy, bullied, timid, didn't have no confidence in myself at all. I was a racing cyclist and then turned marathon runner, but even though I achieved a lot at national level, I only really did it with my legs and my lungs and my heart, because my head really never had that belief in myself. So for me, I know I had to take that plunge in life, and I'm eternally grateful for that. So when people have things happen to them, like we said before, these scars of life, be the physical or emotional, it's important, just like you say, to bring out the positiveness, draw it out of that, and grow from it.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I think for every negative thing that's happened, I'm just going to say in my life, because I don't want to generalize everybody. So I'm just going to say in my life, every negative thing that's happened in my life, a positive outcome has always come from it. Okay, at certain times you might not have thought they had, But when you actually turn it around, and once you've actually got over the anger, or you've got over the grief, or you've got over not over the grief, but you know what I mean, once you've got your emotions in check, and then you sit back and you think, well, actually, if I hadn't done that and gone down that path, I wouldn't have met this person, or I wouldn't have met that person. And you know, it might just be somebody that you've met that was the positive change from that path you were going down. Do you know what I mean? And for me, I think you've got to. There's too many negatives in the world. We're as having to focus on his own negative. You know, we need to get that positive, the positive pennies back. So, Paul, have you got any questions you'd like to ask? Have you got anything else you want Steve to answer? Can you think of anything?
So you say you go into a trance. Do you actually do hypnosis? Because I know NLP, certain courses teach hypnosis in NLP, but is that something you do and at a spiritual level with people only, like the classic now close your eyes and go deeper and deeper sort of thing?
Very visualization, yes. My eyes are closed, their eyes are closed. I'm talking through it, and I can see images, I can hear names, I can hear dogs barking.
Are you seeing what they're seeing though, Steve? Are you sort of like seeing their journey, or are you seeing something like they're on their journey and you're sort of like walking at the side, or are you sort of like overseeing them? If you know, it's very difficult to ask these questions.
I think I very often see there, because I'll describe a property, say where I can see their house.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the energy and I can feel the energy, and I can see, or a red-haired grandma may come in. So you sort of within that connection, within that energy force of them and their journey, their life.
Yeah.
It is fantastic, really. It really is, and to be able to do that from the other side of the world as well.
Yeah. See, this is it. I mean, I know with lockdown, I mean, obviously, I know you work with people across. I know lockdown was very difficult to start with, because I think, especially when you're used to working with people close, or like at least in the same room as them, I think lockdown was sort of like a shock. But so much good has come from lockdown.
Yeah.
I know for yourself, you've got the connections where you're working abroad. I know for Paul, he got the connections that the NLP, especially the past life. I mean, I don't know about the NLP side. We know, because obviously paranormal comes into it. It's normally past lives, isn't it? We get on topic too. But I know with past life, Paul was able to connect with people that they'd be at home and he'd be at his own, but that connection could be made. Did you find that helped you, Steve, or did you find it more of a hindrance with the lockdown, or did you just go with flow?
I changed my life during lockdown. That's when I stopped drinking. When everybody else
This is when it all started for you then, at beginning at lockdown.
Everybody else started drinking and I stopped. Yeah, and it's important to understand as well that the connection, yes, it's connection over Zoom, but there is a connection anyway. It's called non-local entanglement, which is quantum physics is starting to prove it now. Is it the Higgs boson experiment where they split the atom? Was it the particle sent 7 miles one way and 7 miles the other? So
all right,
it was the two halves, but they tickled one of the half, and the instant that they tickled it, it obviously it had a reaction, but the other half had the same reaction that was 15 miles away, and there was no time lag.
Yeah,
not that one did it, then the other. It's instant.
Wow.
Because we are connected anyway.
Yeah.
So this is why healing can be done at the other side of the world, on that energy level of non-local entanglement, where we are all connected energetically.
Yeah.
And quantum physics is starting to show this, and even by thought. And there's a fantastic experiment what they did with water, where they took. Have you seen that?
Yeah, yeah. You can explain it though, Steve, because there might be people in chat that didn't see that. That were a really good experiment, that with water. But to do with memory, weren't it?
Yeah, they took this same source of water but split it and put it into 3 different rooms, in like vacuums, and each room had a collective amount of people who put different thoughts into the water. And then when they took the water and froze it, there was a clear, distinct one was murky, where it had bad thoughts. One was beautiful crystallization, where it had loving thoughts sent to it. And we are mostly made up of water, so what's our thoughts doing to ourselves?
Yeah.
If I remember rightly, I also heard in that experiment they had one which was just left alone. And that was actually the one which was worse. So the one which actually got a negativity wasn't quite as bad as the one which was just left alone. So I think that shows what is important with connection. You know, we need that connection.
Oh, definitely.
Preferably positive.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Our bodies are 70% water, the same as Earth. That's what Joe says. So is there anything else you want to jump in and say, Steve? Have we missed anything? Is there anything that you want to start a topic on, or yeah?
I think it's important to understand that there was another experiment that I just remember then, actually, where they took a piece of human DNA. They looked in this vacuum was just like particles just floating about randomly like they would be, but they introduced a piece of human DNA into there, and the instant that it was placed in, all the particles aligned themselves.
Oh, wow.
And when they removed it, they stayed aligned. So there's a clear what we need to understand, that we have a clear connection to an intelligence that surrounds us all.
Yeah.
That intelligence, to me, is, whether we call it the God energy or whatever, the ether, but our thoughts and emotions give off vibrations which attract
effect
from that energy. And if you look back in history, the genie, ask and you shall receive, and you know, what as a man thinketh, we have this intelligent field around us, which our thoughts and emotions are attached to.
Yeah.
And the spiritual realm is in there as well. The vibration of spirit, the vibration of all loved ones.
Yeah.
We have a lot about us that we don't really understand. We'll go through our lives in this just not
fog.
Yeah, not sit. What did I say to somebody the other day? We look through the eyes, but we see from the heart.
Yeah, definitely. A thought is a prayer. Yes, Steve, for sure. But yeah, I think, do you know, I just find, like I said, we could talk all night. We could be on all night. But do you know, we've been talking an hour and a half already. It just flies by. So what I'm going to do is, because I think we'd love to have you on again. Because again, I think there's more. I don't know how you're fixed and everything else, and I'm sure we'll have a conversation afterwards. Because, like we were saying, there's so many different factors to NLP, isn't there? So I'm thinking NLP is just one word. NLP is just one word. But the different bubbles that comes in with the NLP, so you've got the spiritual bubble, you've got we're energetic, we were talking about earlier.
Energetic NLP, yeah, without
energetic NLP. I thought when Paul says energetic, I thought he meant jogging and running, and it's working with the energy. So again, it's that different coming. And I think these are just subjects that are so fascinating for people to, because we can all. There's a connection for everybody there, you know, like you said, we all go through things, and I think at times we all sit and think, God, how are we going to do this, or we need help with this, or you might even know somebody that is suffering and you think, wow, you've just heard what these two amazing gentlemen have just said, and it's like, right, this is it.
Thank
We're gonna.
you.
This is the path we need to be looking into or finding more about. To change the lives of your friend or your mom, your dad, your auntie, your sister, whoever it is. And it is. It's do you know? It's just for me. It's just fantastic. Hats off to you both. I'll pray to you both.
It's all
Because-
inside it all. That's what you people must understand, that it's all in
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to be open-minded, because when your mind is closed, you don't learn. You bloody don't, Joe, Mike. You bloody don't.
Say a simple thing, which is so easy, because it'll just start in us. It starts in ourselves. It starts in our belief of who we are. It starts in that self-love within us. I've done this, gone to bed at night, laid in bed thinking about all the crap things that have happened in the day, and then you go to sleep on it, and then those thoughts marinate in your subconscious for 8 hours. And so it's important to go to sleep on good thoughts, gratitude of the day. A simple thing that anybody can do, because we go through this life, and I've done it myself, not being grateful for anything. You get into the rat race, you're busy, you're working, you're running businesses. I always carry this in my pocket now, and that's my gratitude rock.
Oh, wow.
It sits by my wallet or my car keys, and it just sits in there. When my hand brushes past it, it's just a little nudge, a little reminder for me to be grateful for something. And it can be talking to you guys tonight, even just for being alive.
Yeah.
You can be sat in traffic and just take little mini moments in life just to because one of the greatest inabilities of mankind is to be able to sit in the silence of himself, and to be able to just sit in the silence of yourself. You might be in traffic, you might be in your garden. It can take seconds. Just look at nature, look at the world around you, look at your skin. Just be grateful for something.
Yeah.
Because when you start to be grateful for things in life, that itself starts to bring that love inside. That
starts to bring that change, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like you say, you're open. Once you start showing that little bit of gratitude, you're then opening yourself up to bigger changes to come in, because then, like Laura just said, you sort of like blocked off. Whereas though you start putting them changes, you're opening yourself up to more good things to come, basically, really, aren't you? Yeah.
It's the simple things as well. As my friend Andy Workman, who does hypnotherapy, says to me, he does the gratitude every single night, and when he goes to the toilet, he flushes away good drinking water. There's people around the world that want good drinking water, and in 2007 here in Gloucester, or the majority of Gloucester, because of the flood water, remember the 2007 floods that went into the pumping system, and the water was switched off for, I can't remember, quite a lot of time. We were having Bowsers put up, and it was like basically trying to do little sink washers of what you could like boil up from the kettle, and baby wipes, and not having a shower, and just how grateful and happy we all were for that running water. So it's the little simple things as well that make such a big difference.
Doesn't have to be big things, does it? It's like it could be little. The tiniest little thing is to have gratitude for. This evening has been absolutely amazing and interesting, says Claire.
Thank you, Claire.
Are you in Gloucester, Paul, you say?
Gloucester, yes. Gloucester.
I'm down there Friday and Saturday.
Oh, right, okay. Excellent. We'll have to meet up.
I'll be in the is it the where the lake is in the shopping centre, the canal.
Westmorelands, you mean?
No, in the town centre, the docks.
The docks, the Gloucester Quays, yes, the docks, Oh, brilliant, yes, I shall. I'm not sure if I haven't sent you a friend request on Facebook, I'll send you one. We'll connect.
My wife's family are all from there, Long Levens.
Fantastic.
Oh wow! I never knew that.
All the best people are.
Hey. Listen, what about us Sheffielders? What about us up this side?
And there as well, yeah. But we're all connected, really, though, aren't we?
Exactly. That's it. I can take credit. Gloucester Keys is amazing, says Patricia. So I want to say thank you. So what I'm going to do is Steve, where can people find you to get in touch with you? Do you have a page? Do you have a group? Is there any way, or is it just through Messenger that people can connect with you? How is it that people can find you?
Well, I've got groups in certain areas. One's with coaching, one's with people with alcohol. But you're better off just finding me on Facebook, really. Stephen Kenneth Sanderson.
Would you mind if you could send me your links for the groups that you have got, because again, those groups may help people as well. Yeah. So if you could send me links to them group, what I'll do is I will add them in onto the description, and then people know how to find you. And I'll also try and put a link into you. Or I'll link your name in anyway to it so they can find you there. So yeah, thank you so much. Paul, where can we find you?
You can go to my website, www.paulgoddardnlp.co.uk. I have my YouTube channels as well, Past Life Regressions with Paul Goddard and Paul Goddard NLP and Hypnotherapy. If you go to my website, there's also email details and my phone number as well.
Marvelous. Oh, and I will share when I'll get Steve to send it me. I'll get him to send me his email, because people might email rather than Messenger. So I want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight, Steve. And Paul, always a pleasure. I've actually pinched Paul's time slot. Because it falls time slot on a Tuesday, because we know
that's all right. Well, I pinched yours initially, so yeah.
But no, it's been such a pleasure having you both on, and I just think it's again absolutely amazing what you do. Just a big thank you really for coming on and sharing. And like I say, I mean, I'm sure we'll get together and maybe have more of the NLP section on all at once together, and having a conversation between yourselves while we're all just sat in chat going, because that's what everybody's been doing tonight. So if you'd like to say your good nights and give a wave, and I'll end chat. If you want to stay where you are, don't leave the live yet, and I shall speak to you 2 minutes afterwards. So sweet dreams, everybody. Good night. I'll see you in the morning for I'll see you morning about 9:30 for breakfast chat with me. So make sure you're all up early and you've had your wash and brush your teeth. Don't want no bad breaths on with me in the morning. So take care, everybody. Sweet dreams, and we'll see you soon.